When did you realise that WCW was WC done? So the day that you knew that WCW was doomed.
The night that it aired. I was at home. I was in the cast with a broken trapezium bone, and I sit down and turn the TV on. You know, and a lot of times I don't know how people are out there, but me, I got sort of like my thumb just sort of like pushes buttons, and sometimes it's the right button, sometimes it's not. So I sit down and I click onto our show, and the show starts. So I'm sitting there for a second, not really paying attention. Going, wait, this is WWF. Play over WWF. Something wrong with this remote. It literally took like 5 minutes. I'm thinking, there's something damn wrong with the television. Like I keep like banging, thinking batteries are bad or something. Like, so I'm jostling the remote around and punching the number in. The hell? And I finally went like, wait a second. Because if you remember, for the fans that may not remember this, not long before this, there was a rumor that circulated that WWF was buying us. And like that in short order, like it was like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. That's bullshit. And so like, it was like one of those things where it took my brain a couple of minutes to go like, wait a second, I'm on the right number and it's the holy shit. And all of a sudden the phone starts boom, boom, but people start calling each other. Right. So I was at home watching. And I remember like, it was like a meteorite falling on your head. You're like, holy shit. And my initial thought, again, shows you, my faith in government, right, was that they're now monopolizing the industry. And so surely regulators are going to step in here, right? Anybody been paying attention to the government lately? So, it was, I think on paper they had Shane was the owner of WCW and Vince owned WWF. The net result of that was it put thousands of wrestlers, not just in the two big feds, but across the country. Because by this time now, the smaller ones that were still hanging on at that point knew they couldn't compete against these two juggernauts. The industry had become bipolar at that point. And so it put an awful lot of people out. And it, I think, seriously hampered the product that was being put out by both companies. And it became this just sort of, okay, let's catch up with the Joneses, right? So remember there was the brief moment when WCW was live and they would put out, okay, well, here's what's going to happen in that match. Well, that can backfire on you too, because if I say to you, hey, Mick Foley's wrestling Steve Austin and the finish is this, I would imagine a lot of wrestlers going, yeah, I like those guys. Let me flip over and see what that is, And there was a not so covert attempt by WCW to mimic or become WWF like. And I think that was really where WCW, because it had always been in my time, from the time I could see it on television, wrestling into the business and then going there, that had always between the two. They were sports entertainment and we were wrestling and giving the fans very different flavors. But once they started becoming more WWF like, I think that's where you thought, like, if you want sports entertainment, you might as well watch the sports entertainment company that does it exceedingly well. And there's vanilla and chocolate for a reason. Some like vanilla, some like chocolate. I'm a pistachio guy, so but to give those different flavors, and I think the net result, in spite of the fact that ECW failed long term with Paul's business stuff, the fact that the fans still chant it today was that product itself was successful. It had captured the attention. And to me, that's the big surprise. And I know I'm rambling on this. When you look at AEW, and I was just with Todd Gordon last week, and he verified for me that Tony Khan used to be at the shows, and like he was the only one that knew it, and like they were keeping an eye out for him and that kind of thing. And you would think that you would see some imprint of ECW on their product. Again, I think if you would mimic ECW, try to be ECW like, you'd fail because it's become like legendary status now. But to me, the FTW, the tagline, the fuck the world attitude, like, hey, this is what the big companies are doing. This is our response back to it. And I don't see any of that in AEW. It seems very TNA Impactish to me, like following that trajectory, which was the WCW model to failure. So I would contend, like, try something different, because this clearly ain't ain't garnering. It's never grown the audience. So